Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 8th grade concept of using the Pythagorean Theorem. This is standard 8.7c in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 32 off the Redesign Practice Online STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So we have a diagram here showing the distance between Odina's house and the library in miles, right? So that is going to be this right here. Let's open this up. Odina's house and the library is right there. It's got that 4 miles. And then also shows the distance between the library and the school. So that's this right here. That's the 8 miles. So the question is, which measurement is closest to x, the distance in miles from Odina's house to the school? All right, so you've got this that we're looking for. But other than those random places they're going to put, the most important thing that we can do here is we can notice that's a right triangle. This right there gives us that hint visually that is a 90-degree angle, and when we see a right triangle in the 8th grade, we should automatically think of the Pythagorean Theorem. So we're going to scroll all the way down here in case we forget it. It's right at the very bottom of the screen there. Additional information, Pythagorean Theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's with right triangles, and that's exactly what we have. So the c squared is always the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is going to be that c right there, right? It's always the longest side, and then your two legs are going to be a and b, right? But you can't, it's not a plus b equals c, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So, right, we've seen these pictures of you draw these squares off here to the side, and what's interesting about any right triangle, no matter how you draw it, is that the square of the two legs added together makes the same area as the square of the hypotenuse. All right, so how can we figure this out? Well, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know my b and my c, so I'm going to say a squared plus 4 squared, because that's my b, equals 8 squared. That's my c. Okay, so I need to do let's just go ahead and get rid of the squares, right? Let's just do a squared plus 16 equals 64. Now, how do we isolate the variable? Well, we know how to do that, right? We're going to subtract 16 from both sides. And we will get our calculator out in just a minute. Don't necessarily need it yet. All right, so a squared equals, and then it's going to be this 64 minus 16. So that's going to be 48. Okay. So a squared, we did all of that. All right, so a squared equals 48. I need to know what just this x is. All right, so how do I get rid of the square? Well, you're going to take the opposite here, the inverse operation. So the inverse operation of a square is a square root. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. Those two cancel themselves out. So a equals the square root of 48. Now you notice how they phrase it. Which measurement is closest, right? So we're going to have to estimate. And now it's going to mess up our picture here a little bit, but let's take a look at our answer selections here. Right, we did all that. Look, 49 is a perfect square. Square root of 49 equals 7. So it's just going to be a hair under 7. And you look at C, that's the best option. Now we can go ahead and get out our calculator here. Let's use this TI graphing calculator. And remember, we are using the square roots of 48. So we're going to hit that second. We're going to hit the square root and then 48. We'll hit enter, and you see 6.928. It rounds to the nearest tenths place, 6.9. So we are correct there. But we also could just use a little bit of number sense. If the next perfect square is 49, that's just one more. Our answer here is going to be C.